Welcome to Chatterbox Besties with Brenda and Ricky. We're two besties sharing news, gift ideas, and lifestyle hacks to turn ordinary days into a 10 plus. Well, today we're going to be answering the questions. Have you counted the number of Mondays you have left? And how to live astonishingly alive? Our guest today, we're so excited to have her, Jodi Wellman. She's going to help us with those questions. Jodi has studied with worldwide experts researching what it means to be truly happy. She's been featured in the New York Times, the LA Times, Forbes, Psychology Today, and so many more. And she's presented to companies like Accenture, BMW, Estee Lauder, and Fidelity. And today she's going to unpack for us at Chatterbox Besties how to live optimally to make the most of our 4,000 Mondays.
Woohoo! And today's episode is sponsored by the Curated Coach Connector. Happy YOU year. You know who you are. This year invites you to claim it. Having the right coach as a guide can make all of the difference in unlocking your true potential. For more information, contact curatedcoachconnector.com. Before we dive in with Jodi, I have to do a little catch up with Brenda. How are you? Happy New Year.
You know what? It's hard to believe that it's already January 2026. And I know it's been such a busy month for each of us. So first of all, Ricky, I know you joined a movie club and I haven't been out to see any of the new movies. I did watch the Golden Globes. I know the movies now that are out there. I love Nikki Glazer. She was the host and she was like just the right amount of funny. Of course, I loved her gowns. And I love that she wore her last gown at the end with the Spinal Tap baseball cap as a nod to the late Rob Reiner. And actually, I hear that Nikki's coming to Chicago later this year. So, Ricky, we may have to go see her. So, anyway, back to the movies. Ricky, what do we need to see?
Okay, so the reason why I joined the movie club is because it was to get me to see movies that maybe I wouldn't see on my own. And we have a person who directs us, and he's taken us to some places that I probably wouldn't have gone on my own. There's a movie on Netflix called Train Dreams that is extraordinary, and 100% I never would have seen it on my own. But the rest of the movies I'm sure you're aware of, One Battle After Another, Marty Supreme. He's pretty much nailed all of them, but I kind of like the obscure ones that I wouldn't see on my own. So that was fun. And just recently, I met this nurse. My husband was getting a blood draw, and her job is to spread happiness to all the people who are in the lab waiting for blood tests. And I just thought that was so spectacular that the hospital recognized that everybody wants to be happy. So her name is Eunice Reed, and you can find her on Instagram, and you can Google her name. It's REED. And if you just want a little smile and joy, she's the one you want to look at to get a little sprinkle of happiness. So just saying. Anyway, how was your January?
That is so cool. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, back to your movies, you definitely are inspiring me to go to the movies. I need to do that. I think I'm a hermit in the winter with like watching things. I just want to cozy up in front of my TV and like see what series are on. But we started our new year at the Rose Bowl in California. Our son had some time off and we're big IU fans. So we thought it would be fun to go to the Rose Bowl, and it was pouring rain, but it's freezing here and I'll take the rain. But I was completely fascinated with the Rose Parade that they put on. I mean, it's been going on since the late 1800s, and even before football came into the picture. It is a fabulous Rose Parade. I mean, every single float completely covered in the most creative display of roses. I mean, it was unreal. I mean, here we are sitting in the stands with all of our rain gear, completely ignoring the rain because of the beauty of the floats. And honestly, I think the rain sort of amplified the scent of the roses. It was really, really cool. And then we had this like pilgrimage to the massive tailgate that was like the size of a football field. I mean, it was crazy, like thousands of fans and fireworks and all the things. And then finally we got to the game. It wasn't raining at the game and it was fabulous. And I have to say, the reason I'm also bringing this up is I became completely obsessed with the coach and the quarterback. And I have to tell you how they really made an impact on me. So, this coach, if you don't know what's been happening with this whole IU team, he took this job 2 years ago and he's 64 years old. Okay. Like, talk about ramping up at a time when people are thinking about maybe slowing down. He knew that he had the skill set to create a winning team. In fact, he's so confident when he started at IU, which, by the way, if you don't know, has been the bottom team forever, like since the university basically started. And he said he was going to convert this team into a winner. And he basically said, I create winning teams. You can Google me and see that. Like, he was so confident. And everyone's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Well, turns out he created this championship winner. Not only did they blow out the team at the Rose Bowl, he really, they were like undefeated and they won the championship game. And so it makes you really consider the fact that you can reinvent yourself, if you have the confidence and the focus and you really just execute what you believe. And I just am so impressed with him from that level, aside from the fact that he's just really brought IU to the forefront, in football. And the second thing that's was so impressive to me is the quarterback. And if you don't know the quarterback, his name is Fernando Mendoza. And oh, so by the way, at in the stands at the stadium, everybody is singing that ABBA Fernando song. Do you guys remember the song? You know, there's something in the air that night. The stars were bright. Fernando. Okay, all these young kids, like these college kids, like how do they even know this song? I was just blown away. So why are people attracted to this quarterback? So not only is he exceptionally talented as an athlete, this guy is so positive, so smart, so articulate, professional, grateful, humble. I mean, he's a family guy. His mother has MS, and he talks about her every time in every interview. I mean, he is just the type of role model that you want your kids to look up to. I feel like our society, for whatever reason, we look up to celebrities, we look up to athletes. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but to have that type of a role model for kids to look up to, I mean, I just fell in love with him and the whole story. And honestly, he has a great career ahead of him. And I feel like, and you guys know I'm a big Swiftie. I love Taylor Swift because of her work ethic and her wholesomeness. He's like the budding Taylor Swift in my eyes, and I just love him so much. And the whole thing is a Cinderella story, and I'm just here for it. And I had to share. I know some of you may know the story, but some of you may not. And I just think it was really an important message to share in it just in today's world. It's just such a happy story. And the other thing I want to quickly mention that I've been doing, I've been sort of resurrecting my vision boarding workshops, and it's been really, really fabulous. Just gathering some intimate groups, and it's been really powerful and a great reminder of how important it is to pause and look ahead with intention to have a little more clarity about what your future may entail. So I think that leads perfectly to our special guest today. So Ricky, take it away and formally introduce our lovely guest, Jodi Wellman.
So, hello, Jodi. How are you? And
Oh,
I'm going to read this because I want to make sure I capture every important detail. She has risen from a successful corporate career to coach to a stop squandering your life speaker and author. She has a Master of Applied Positive Psychology, love that, from the University of Pennsylvania, and she collaborated with the world's top researchers on happiness and what makes life worth living. She wrote the book, You Only Die Once, How to Make It to the End with No Regrets. Today, she's here to unpack the idea that we only get 4,000 Mondays and how to live with vitality and meaning. We are so happy to welcome Jodi Wellman.
So
I'm
great to
excited to be here with you both.
Thank you. So, Jodi, can you tell us how you got into the area of positive psychology? Just love that.
Oh, yeah, the scientific study of what makes life worth living, or the scientific study of well-being, the study of flourishing instead of, languishing, which, we don't want to spend a lot of time there. Um, I have always been interested in the topics around self-help. So my early part of my career was in the health and wellness industry for 17 years. And then I transitioned into leadership development, executive coaching. And all in part of that was, well, how do we study what's going right when we're at our best, when we are using our strengths, et cetera. So that lent itself to, well, maybe I want to learn more about positive psychology. And so that's what led to the program at Penn, which then unexpectedly led me to really just cracking this door wide open for the Grim Reaper in a totally unweird way, just to talk about this topic I love of memento mori, remembering that we must die. So yeah, it kind of all came naturally, as you can tell.
Yeah,
It's fabulous.
and it kind of gives us that whole like, okay, I want to learn more, but do I want to learn more? So when people hear the phrase, you only die once, they kind of think of that. And so what do you hope that title gently or maybe not so gently wakes up in people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm okay if it's not so gentle. I want to be kind to people. I want it to be the reminder that we are limited time only situations, because I know I'm not the only one that tends to take my life for granted. You go through the motions, all of a sudden it's next Thursday and you're like, what even happened? And I want us to stop, wake up, recognize the preciousness of life. And the only way we can do that, let's be honest, is recognizing we're all ticking time bombs. And if we can kind of poke some fun at it. So if you're listening and you're feeling like, wait a minute, what are we talking about? Don't go anywhere yet. We're going to have fun with it. If we can
Exactly.
poke fun at the absurdity of our temporariness, well, then we're all in this together, but it can help us to live with more motivation.
Love.
Absolutely. I love that. So you had a very strong corporate career before you started this work. So what did success look like for you back then? And what felt missing, even if you weren't ready to name what that was yet?
Yeah. Yeah, good question. Because sometimes you can't name it when it is missing. It's just that there's this piece, like a puzzle piece. You don't even know what the puzzle piece looks like. I felt delighted by what I now laughingly call the trappings of success, but the way it felt really great for a long time. I felt like, okay, I was achievement oriented and I liked to be patted on the back, and to be quite honest, to be recognized and promoted just made me feel good in a, oh, good, they like me and I'm doing well kind of way. I'm a good student. And, okay, money, a good parking spot, a title, like some of the external validations, like I'm not going to argue with this shit. So that all felt good. Except there was the niggling, and it started off initially as that, like, thinking, is it grass greener over there? What, something's missing. And it was the niggling that then turned into a visceral experience, right? It wasn't just a niggling. It was more like karate chops from the inside, trying to kick out. And I struggled for years, outdoing my welcome. I tell the story in my book called The Stapler Story, where I was at work, corporate, corner office, feeling great, right? And I was stapling stuff together, and I was like, my stapler ran out of staples. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine. I can handle this. So I go and I load the stapler and I put a row of staples in the stapler. And I said to myself, this is a specific moment. I said, I'm not going to be here by the time this row of staples is done. And I snapped the stapler shut. I went back to I felt so good, except guys, I did nothing about it. I was waiting somehow to be saved. Like a year later, I'm stapling papers again, blowing my mind off. And my stapler runs out. I was so busted. Because here I was like, but I said I wasn't going to be here. Well, I was waiting to be plucked into this next version of the life that I was longing to be living, which I hadn't even fathomed. So that for me is a very specific reminder of, if you find yourself hoping and wanting for something different and waiting for a solution's probably not going to come. It's like waiting to win the lottery if you don't play. So there's my stapler story for y'all.
I love that.
So that's really interesting. Why do you think that these women, all of us included, hit that quiet wall, in our 40s and 50s? and 60s and whatever, because you
Yeah.
had the epiphany, but didn't do
Yeah.
anything about it. And that's everyone. Well, mostly everyone.
Right. I love the question, and I love even the phrase you put it into as a quiet wall. I don't think most high achieving women, especially, hit this wall because we are burned out or broken, right? It's because we've maybe outgrown the version of success that actually was really rewarding for us earlier in life.
Oh,
So in our 20s and
wow.
30s, the system is set up where, like, wow, we're going to feel achievement. Like, we're going to feel it because we're rewarded for being super smart early on and keen and applying ourselves, being reliable, easy to work with. We're going to do all this extra discretionary labor, which I was happy to do too. I'll stay late. I'll do it.
Yeah, right.
But then when we hit, like, 40s and 50s, we're like, well, first of all, like, I'm no longer rewarded by that stuff somehow, but in my own mind, like, there's this meaning question gets louder, right? It's like this, is this what is actually
This all
giving
there
back to
is?
me again?
Mhm.
Is there something
Yeah.
else I want to contribute? Research is so clear, like meaning and autonomy and a sense of coherence, like things making sense are actually more motivating than approval or status. So I think that we're kind of facing this disparity of the things I used to value that mattered to me, that felt good. It doesn't matter anymore. And we don't
Mhm.
really go for it because we're scared.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can you kind of explain what default living looks like for women in midlife?
Default living, you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which you explained a little bit, I think.
Oh, I'd love to,
Yeah.
because I know it well.
Yeah.
I know what
Yeah.
not to do.
You started talking about it. Yeah.
How about I tell you about phases of my life and then you could do the opposite? I love this because it's personal and it's also other people's experiences, I know, but it's also based in research. So for those of us that like things empirically based, like, let's rock on. Routine and habit can sometimes be the end of us, even though we yearn for structure. Hello, I love a good organized day and life. And just be careful, because we can sometimes get ourselves into these pathways where all of a sudden it's like a groove. But I think I said this in my TEDx talk, and I'm going to hopefully not botch it. But the only difference between a rut and a grave are the dimensions. So it's getting into this
Wow.
thing where
I love that.
we
Wow.
are absolutely in a routine of, this is what I do. I wake up, I do this exact getting ready routine, and then here's what I have for breakfast, and then I go do the work, and then I finish that, and then I go on the weekends, here's what I do. And we end up feeling responsible as adults, and we end up feeling like we're getting stuff done, like productive, but according to what?
Mhm.
Oh, I've answered my emails. Well, not all of them, but many of them.
Yeah.
And then I feel
Yes.
like good, but have I lived? Have I, wait a minute, like,
Right.
did I do something that felt sparky and maybe a little spontaneous, shock and horror? So I think it's that the routines and habits can tend to lead us to what I call squanderous lives. We squander our time. And the goal, of course,
Yeah.
is to live a squander-free life.
Love
Yeah,
that.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So tell me, why Mondays? Like, why not years or decades? Like, what makes Mondays such an emotional and practical unit of time for you?
Yeah. I learned early on, career-wise, in order to make something feel visceral and a little bit eye-opening, it needs to be broken down into the ridiculous. So I think
Love
that
that.
we
Yeah.
all generally know our life expectancy as women, depending where you live in the world, but let's just say 83 years. Yeah. But have you, when you quantify that, when you make it like roughly 4,000 Mondays, or for me to do the countdown, like, I know as of this week, I've got 1,740. We're laughing. Why are we laughing? This time is limited, people.
Yes.
I know. I'm
That's
like, I need to get my
brilliant.
calculator out and figure this out like immediately.
If there's a calculator on my website on the resource page, you don't even have to do math. Don't waste your time with math,
Perfect.
people. But
We're going there
when you
right after.
when you break it down to the ridiculous and see it that way, that's the thing. Again, I want like a subtle or not so subtle startling to say, oh, like, and you know what's even more interesting? This is going to defy your football coach you talked about. I love how
Okay.
he's rocketed at 64 and is still going. But I do the exercise, of course, counting how many Mondays I have left based on a healthy life expectancy. But what about based on your career? Like, retirement's squishy these days. I don't know if I want to
Yeah.
fully retire, but let's just say, I pick a date. When I do the math, and when maybe y'all do the math about how many Mondays you have left in your working time, that actually took my breath away because it felt like, oh, but there's so much more stuff I thought I want to do. I can't.
Interesting.
And,
Yes.
and so I'm illustrating right now what I think a lot of people are afraid of. It's the risk of, I don't want to create existential crises. I don't want someone to panic. What I want is, and this is what happens typically as a psychological response. Temporal scarcity is the concept. That's what actually is happening. It's this, oh, thank you for highlighting that this thing that is limited time only, and I need to maybe make the most of it. So the discomfort, the value of whatever the asset is we're talking about increases when we know that it is not going to go on forever. Anytime anything is seen as rare,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right? That's life.
Interesting.
So every time we stop and we do that math, or we really contemplate it and we say, I only have this many Mondays left in my career. Wow. I'm not trying to make us anxious. I'm trying to create that just the right dose of urgency and motivation to say, oh, all these things I've been putting off till later, what am I waiting for? And that's actually, I know that's the question that goes on in our heads, and I'm just going to pose it now, kind of in all caps, like, what are we waiting for?
Yeah.
You know, it, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's so powerful what you're saying. And
Mm.
I think, though, for some women or people, not just women, um, how do you move from this idea of fear, which is what you had mentioned before as well, into actual change?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it all sounds dreamy, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
just change your job like I did
Right,
after a couple
right.
stapler snaps or whatever. Yeah. I changed my stapler 3 times, by the way. And for me, that was the route I needed to refill 3 times in order to really realize, oh, honey, life is not getting lived on its own with it. You got to go do it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a fan of building a muscle. Not personally, I'm freaking weak, but I believe that the cues and clues that we can build for ourselves can lead to something different. So, for example, I think that, let's say there's a goal that someone has to maybe start their own side business, right? Like, well, I have a dream, you want to do a thing. It
Yeah.
could be consulting, it could be starting an Etsy shop, whatever it is. It's, if that feels daunting, join the club. It's identifying what are the things that make you feel alive, and just pick one thing that you want to do this week. That might be a minor stretch, and it might be something like, wow, I really like to do art stuff, but I don't make the time for it. And in fact, sometimes it can create its own intimidating barrier of itself. Like, but if I pull
Sure.
out the art stuff, I have to like complete something, and it has to be a success, and it has to have like a freaking gallery show
Right.
and all the
Mm-hmm.
things. When it's like, what if you just doodled something? Or what if you just did a small minor, pick one small thing to do in the next
Mm-hmm.
week of your precious life. You've only got freaking 4,000 of them. So just do one thing this week. And what that does is it tells us, it sends a message that I'm the kind of person who shows up and lives. Like, I'm the kind of person who makes time for this, or I'm the kind of person who prioritizes her interests, or I'm the kind of person who does something and isn't afraid for this drawing to look like total trash just because it was kind of fun to do. Or I'm the kind,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm the kind of person, it's like the language that happens internally that then leads us to, essentially, if I just keep doing these little things every week, I'm the kind of person that opens the Etsy shop. I'm the
Right,
kind of person that
right.
registers for the LLC online, and then that's done.
Interesting.
Love that.
So, what do you think most women often realize they've been postponing?
Hmm. Well, of course, it's very personal for each person, but
Right.
I think that what it boils down to is a language I know you both use a lot. It's something relating to their values, right? It's this idea that we've let go, we've abandoned, we've deserted, really. We've just like left on an island this idea about a dream we have or an inkling, and it doesn't have to be a big impressive dream. So let's just size this, right? It's not about
Mm-hmm.
a dream that's going to impress other people. I mean, or to start a nonprofit that saves children everywhere, or to do something grandiose. Like, it could just be, wow, like I do have this dream that I want to do back to the art project, or that I
Yeah.
want
Yes.
to
Back to
plan
what
a
you were
family
saying.
reunion
Start
for my
small.
family,
Yeah.
whatever. It's that
Just
identifying
do
like,
it.
what is it, yeah, that you value. Like, I talk about pregrets. These are ideas where if you imagine
Mm.
that you're on your deathbed and you look at your life and the things you didn't do that you would regret that you didn't do, I
Yeah.
call them pregrets because they are regrets in the
Before the
making. They
grit.
have not happened yet. You're not dead yet. Like, take your pulse, you're good. And so
So far, so
then,
good.
yeah, then why not identify what those things are and then say, I actually have the chance right now. Maybe it's a goal I want to reach. Maybe it is travel. Maybe it is that I want adventure. Maybe I want more spontaneity in my life. And I would regret if I keep delaying it for later. Well, what if I did just, again, back to this, pick one thing and defy that kind of slumber that we find ourselves in? Because it's all too easy to get into back to the routine I mentioned that's slowly killing us.
Yes.
So are you kind of saying just take a step, like take one step to get going?
Sounds like it.
Thank you for that perfect, beautiful, concise summary, because it is. And I want to use this moment to say it's just one step. And we often think it needs to be maybe even a big step, an impressive step. And we underestimate the impact of even the tiny things, right?
Exactly.
Like, again, the messages that we tell ourselves that creates the narrative in our head that determines whether or not we're going to move forward with the bigger thing. But it also experiences that life is really just a bunch of 5-minute moments that are just glued together, right? To make a life.
Absolutely.
So we have a choice, for example, in between your next meeting or how you want to spend, the time between when you close your laptop, if you ever do. Well, I don't. And then you do that and then you make dinner or something.
Yes.
Like, what do I want to do right now? What if, like, making that choice in that moment, like one step is a conscious thing of, if I just made the decision, for example, to sit outside and call a friend that I haven't talked to in a while and just shoot the breeze for, maybe it's a very cold breeze right now, depending where you're living, but whatever.
Most of the country. Yeah.
For 5 minutes and say, hey, I just wanted to touch base. Do you not think that your experience of being alive in that 5, 7, 10 minutes is going to be different than it is if you come? And then that is the orientation you have, for example, for the rest of your evening, which then dictates, it's like, this is going to sound dramatic, but I like dramatics. So let's go for it. Like, every decision we make of the most minute capacity is a decision that impacts the rest of our lives. Because your life is happening right now, whether you know it or not. Like, listening to this podcast, obviously your life is amazing right now because you're listening to this podcast. But it is about, like, this is a choice we're making, right? Yes. And then that's going to lead to the next thing, which leads to the next thing, rather than just being kind of mindlessly going through our moments. So it all adds up in this, again, finite experience we've been lucky enough to be granted.
So you're kind of talking about many of us who are outwardly functional, but inwardly restless. How can someone tell the difference between burnout and maybe deeper misalignment?
Wouldn't it be cool if there was a litmus test we could just,
yeah.
Like, can I go to Walgreens and just get one of those?
Can we do that? That's a great
swabs?
idea. Let's work on that.
Or if we're going to develop it, why don't we just develop like a vaccine that just fixes it already, right?
Absolutely.
I'll take a strawberry flavored pill. What a good question. I think a way to look at it is that burnout is something where it says, like, oh man, I need to rest before I can get back up on this freaking horse. And then misalignment, you said that was the other,
yes,
was the other word? Yeah, misalignment would be a little more insidious, like, even if I rest up for like a week, I don't want to get back up on this horse. So it's like that difference, right? About burnout would improve with recovery, misalignment deeper, it doesn't. It's this flag for you that I am not finding meaning in what I'm doing, or I'm tolerating too much, or this just isn't me living the life I want to be living. Now, let's be honest. Burnout scares us because it makes us think, I don't like this job anymore. I don't want to be a vet. What was I thinking? These animals are killing me. Right. I don't know. But it's sometimes you just take a break. It restores you and you're like, oh God, I love these furry little buggers. And that's fine. But back to the niggling I mentioned earlier, I think we have an inner knowing. We know, it's like, even if it's, so take a break, take a nice break and reflect and spend so much time at Starbucks or your local joint and just sit back and be like, no, but really, like, is there something I'm avoiding? If I knew I was gonna die one day, what would I do? Like, if I knew my time was, wait a minute, what am I doing? Sometimes I think, again, I want the loving slap in the face to really have us stop and say, if this is misalignment, where am I misaligned? And what would be really cool? What if I had no fears? Imagine that. Again, back to, what if the stakes were so high that I knew that I had 1,740 Mondays left, maybe more, but maybe less. I'm not going to dick around as much anymore.
Right. And it's just listening to yourself, right? It's just taking time to listen to really, what really drives you. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't you think this guy's like, we know we're just too chicken shit to take the action.
It's all about fear. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have a system of steps to come up with an action plan. Let's talk about those steps and then let's get into your wide and deep grid in more detail. I find it so fascinating.
Ooh, sure. Well, the good news is that the wide and deep is part of, I think, the system. And luckily, it's not like an arduous system. But
Mm-hmm.
the first thing we've already alluded to, which is to count how many Mondays we have left. Again, just to put everything into perspective, get the context going again, that life is limited and that is actually a good thing. That's not true. A lot of people want to live forever. But then all that means is that we would squander our time. You would like to live forever, Brenda?
Yes, because I am such a curious person and I just want to learn. I'm just like a lifelong learner and I feel like I don't want to miss out. So this is really important for me to reframe because it's not going to happen. So
Well,
with I'm banking on biohacking, but I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. So
how much
You and
banking
Walt
are you-
Disney.
I love it.
yeah, totally.
Well, I think I'm going to take your curiosity point, and yes, you can. I'm sure you already use that in the life you're living now, and I get it that it would be great to be curious about what is the world like in 6438, the year. But given that that's unlikely, that's going to happen. Counting how much time we have left again is that perspective above. Well, because this is really a diminishing number every darned week. How can I use this little bit of a gasp to my advantage? So then the second thing, we've also alluded to it too. It's that getting in touch with your pregrets, because it's,
Yes.
again, we need to have that little bit of a thread of, well, wait, if this time was up, or maybe for some of us, if you're, for some reason, if you just find this whole death talk distasteful, then that's fine. What if it was then that it wasn't that you're on your deathbed and you're wishing you look back at the stuff you didn't do? What if it was that you all of a sudden lost the ability to be as able-bodied as you are, maybe
Mhm.
of body or maybe even of mind, as you know, I'm dealing with my dear dad with dementia now.
Sorry.
And it's one of those, what if you couldn't continue on in the ways that you have been taking for granted up till now? What would you kick yourself for maybe not doing while you still had all your marbles or
Mhm.
most of your marbles or your body or whatnot, right? So those are your regrets. And again, it's not regrets about the stupid stuff you did, because that's water under the bridge. It's about the stuff that you wished you had done. They're called regrets of omission. And so that is a bit of an exercise you could do, sitting back with a nice glass of something. And, you choose your glass, but and contemplating that. So that's number two. The number three thing, which we're talking about out of these sort of five things, is this idea about both widening and deepening your life. And I look at life along those two planes. So it's not just about living longer or forever. It's about, how do I live wider and deeper? And the widening aligns with the construct of vitality, like wider, like stuffing in fun things and cool experiences and the things that are, I kind of felt like fun and fizzy and frothy. And it's like going out and doing fun road trips and having stuff that makes you feel engaged and laugh and participating in life. And then the living deeper, as you might expect, aligns with this construct about the deeper stuff, like having meaning, purpose, connection, etc. And I find that framework helpful to look at life, because sometimes you feel like, oh, my life is good, but maybe it's not, but like something's missing, or I want more, but what is it? It may be on one of those planes you can identify. Go, wait a minute. I have enough meaning, like my job is meaningful, or, I'm looking after a pack of animals or whatever you're doing. I'm meaningful, but I'm bored.
Mhm.
Then there's a signal that, okay, well, what are some fun things that you might want to, or not, it doesn't have to be fun. It could just be engaging things that might wake you up again to life. And the reverse could be true, where you say, I am feeling like I'm doing some neat things. I'm sketching. I'm going out for walks. I'm having some
Sure.
fun with friends, or I'm doing the thing, but I feel empty. Like it's
Mhm.
like, what, like, is there anything that really matters? So that is this, and we can talk more about the widening and deepening, but that's one area, is to look
Yeah.
at that and start to basically populate your life like like scientifically, and this is where let's just take a moment to just get pissed off that unfortunately life sometimes isn't glamorous and we have to be a little bit prescriptive about it, and we have to be planful, and we have to take out our boring calendars, and we have to design the life that we
Excellent.
love and
Yeah.
say, like, the hobby isn't going to come to me. Like, I'm going to need to put effort into the hobby if I
Right.
feel like I need and
Right.
want to rekindle playing the tuba. I've never played the tuba, but I'm sure.
Yeah, I get it. It's a good example.
Like, so that's the widening and deepening. We can come back to that if you want. But then the fourth one that I love, it's called Shake It Up. And that is, as you might expect, it has to do with busting up the habits and routines that I've already crapped
Yeah.
all over earlier in our conversation. And it might be just saying like, hey, every morning I do the same thing for breakfast. I'm going to make a different breakfast, or I drive the same route, to childcare or to work or to whatever. I am going to take the long way home,
Mm-hmm.
or we do the same date night. It's getting kind of ho-hum. How do I spice that up? Just change spicing, just switching it up a little bit. And then the last one is really just a nice culmination for us all, which is just picking one small thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
keep coming back to that language because, again, living an astonishingly alive life doesn't have to be big. It only ever really starts with one small thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is that one thing? It could be a pre-gret where you're like, you know what? I've always wanted to book that trip to go see the Northern Lights. By the way, in all the research I do, the Northern Lights show up a lot on people's bucket lists.
Yeah.
And so if
It's
you're
on
dying to see
mine.
the North, you too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it showed
Okay.
up in Chicago a couple times last year, so we were so
I
lucky.
heard that. Look at you. Um, make it like, what would it take? It's one of those
Yeah.
like the Northern Lights will not come to you, although they did come to Chicago. So
They
that
did.
might
We
still
were
be
yes.
lucky.
blown
You
the
never
whole-
know, right? Miracles
never
happen.
right. Let's just all sit passively back and wait for all of our dreams to
Yeah,
happen
let's
to
just
us.
wait. It might come to your city anytime soon.
And that would be low odds, but maybe. And or the feeling of agency that we get when, again, we book the trip. I just talked to a friend, and speaking of Northern Lights, she spontaneously, and I'm just going to say spontaneity, I think, is really thematic for
Yeah,
us
I agree.
capable, professional, successful, especially women. And we are organized and planful and being spontaneous. I think, isn't it like for most of us, it's like a secret fantasy, but we don't know how to execute on it because it's scary. It's like, I can't drive off the highway and go and see that exhibition that said like there was a sign. I wouldn't do that. I'm my GPS, like my map is saying I'm
Right.
going to be there in
Right.
1 hour and 20 minutes. I can't live. Yes, you can. So I don't know how I got sidebarred onto
Yeah.
spontaneity. It
Oh,
was because a friend of mine booked a spontaneous trip to go to Iceland for her
excellent.
family. So they could go
She's
to
gonna
see the
love
Northern
it.
Lights.
Yeah.
And is she pulling her kid out of school for 5 days? Yeah. She's like, it's not going to ruin his brain. In fact, it'll enhance his brain if he sees these.
Aw,
Absolutely.
It's
I
going to
love
be
that.
amazing, right?
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, let's see what. Oh, you know what? Let's talk a little bit about this idea of frequent versus intense leisure, and I think you maybe touched on it a little bit, and what the studies have shown.
Yeah, I love this because I think what it does is it reframes when I talk about astonishingly alive
Yeah.
living. I run the risk myself of misleading people, where it needs to be full and it needs to be glitzy or it needs to somehow impress other people. And
It's not
I
about that
love,
at all.
love,
Yeah.
love the research that proves that, at least when it comes to leisure, it's not about the quantity. It actually is. I'm going to reframe this. Number one, the point I just want to make right now is that there isn't a prescription where your life has to be so chock full of things that make it astonishing, because only you know what makes you feel alive. And that might be a
Yes.
really quiet,
Personal.
serene time with your kid and your dog. Um, when it comes to leisure research, they say that it's just a regular sort of drip feed of small, simple things that can help make you feel most alive and often recharged and feeling like you've hit the notes of well-being, versus what many of us do, which is it's sort of work, 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 and I'm working for the weekend or I'm working for the vacation. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I'm going to just jam my life full of experience. And I'm going to have, we're going to go and see the ruins, and I'm going to go like all the things that get stuffed in, but then you get back to your regular life and it just gets back into that mind numbing routine.
Mm-hmm.
Tends not to be as good for us in terms of
Okay.
sparking our perception, our own, it's, your perception of life satisfaction, right? So again, we underestimate the tiny little things that might be neat, like to take a really yummy tea break or to go for a special little walk, even if it's, again, quick and to call them cheap and cheerful things. They add up in terms of
Love that.
creating the feeling that our life has been well lived.
Excellent.
I'm going to just throw you a little curveball. As you're talking, I'm thinking, do we give ourselves credit for the things that we do that might be the things that you're talking about, but we don't remember or we don't give ourselves credit for it?
This question's so important because I think the answer is absolutely no. So we do things that, again, we overlook the effort we've made to make life good. And I think that that's back to sometimes the purpose of a gratitude journal, different
Yeah,
construct, but it's like,
Right.
let me stop and remember the things that kind of were really lovely today. Like I
Yes.
saw a bud on a tree, or that person smiled at me out of nowhere, or again, noticing something. It's called attunement, noticing.
Yeah.
And I think if we start to notice ourselves that, for example, wow, I'm really proud. I made myself a really nourishing snack of cottage cheese and fruit and walnuts. And I feel really good about myself that I did that, damn it. And I'm
Go
going to write
me.
that down on a list of
Yes.
shit I did that I'm not ashamed of, damn it.
Right.
And then
Right.
so yes, let's all start that list.
Yeah.
But noticing when, wow, like I made a choice today to take a break and sit outside rather than answer 3 more
Yeah.
emails.
Yeah.
So you're kind of talking about take care of me, or I should take care of me, or, whoever you are, which I think sometimes we forget that, in
Yeah.
our lives. As we move forward, I'm just wondering, has your personal relationship with time changed since
Mm.
writing You Only Die Once?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously pre-sold on the whole concept for a while before that, but I
Duh.
would say that upon, but then, I would actually say that even with the book, I got a little bit jostled because I think I had, a different ride after writing the book. I got
Yeah.
admittedly a little bit back into the
The
success
corp.
trap
Yeah.
of, is this going to make me happy? And I
Hmm.
did lose touch, funny enough, ironically, with what the stuff is that makes me feel alive. And
Oh,
the
wow.
aliveness,
Interesting.
I thought for a while was coming from cool press. And believe me, like my ego still likes it, but
Of
it was
course.
not,
Of course.
but it was like junk food. Like it didn't feel good, like it didn't sustain. And so
Interesting.
I had to do this whole rejigging of like, oh, honey, like you just keep moving the goalposts on success. What if it
Yeah.
was just stopping and going, wait a minute, like what am I doing this for and why? And so getting reoriented to what are my
Yeah.
priorities, back to this seemingly morbid exercise of when people have had a brush with death and they say they leave the hospital and they come home and their eyes have been opened. I
Yes.
kind of like, I go through that mentally. It's like, what if I almost just died and now I get this second chance?
Wow.
And I look around and I'm like, oh, now I see what matters. It's
Yeah.
not that I was featured in XYZ. Again, don't not feature me there, but like, it's not
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Instead,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
like, did I have a really meaningful conversation today? Or did I
Right.
do the thing that made me feel alive? So yeah, it's made me through almost like a little trial and tribulation,
Hmm.
get refocused on what matters. And that felt like a gift.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I'm getting that stapler out to leave front and
Yeah,
center.
exactly. So what do you think, what's a small but powerful shift that women can do or anyone to make like this coming Monday more alive?
Mm. Well, because we're all a little bit different, and the thing that'll float
Yes.
my boat won't float yours. I think it's
Just think
zero in on what makes you happy.
what makes
I
you
am
happy. Okay.
I'm a big fan of getting out a piece of paper and writing out 30
Hmm.
things that make you feel happy and or alive. And they need to be generally attainable. So ideally it's not stuff that is far flung, like
Yeah.
I'm so happy when I'm on the beach in Bali. Cool, do that. But
Love
what
it.
about something local? Get zeroed in
Excellent.
on that. And then just make a plan to do one thing. And again, it could be writing a letter to a friend. It could be going to the drive-in. It could be using a spice that you haven't used in a long time,
Yes.
but just making a small choice to shake things up, feel alive again, and
Love
watch
it.
what that leads to.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, we're going to move to kind of a rapid fire Q&A,
Ooh,
just like a
yeah.
couple word answer, kind of just to, sort of wrap things up a little bit.
Mhm,
So, just a few questions. So here we go. First question. What
mhm.
is one word to describe how most women misuse time in midlife?
Mm, later.
Ah, love
As
that
in,
word.
like, I'll do it later.
Yes, perfect.
What if you don't have a later?
You don't have a later? That's so good. Okay. What's one thing women don't regret doing, but do regret delaying?
Mm. Any of those pregrets that you would have on your
Okay.
list that you said, oh, shoot. Yeah.
Perfect. And what's a boundary every woman over 40 should really practice more often?
Mm. Well, we all know the idea about saying no, but I think it's about stop explaining your no.
That's
Yes.
great.
Because
Because I was going to say no, but the explaining is so true.
it's usually a bid for permission and we don't need it. A clear, unembellished, hey, you know what? That doesn't work for me.
Perfect.
Love it.
And what's a belief about aging you wish women would release?
The idea like one day I'll have it figured out. I don't think we're ever really going to figure it out, and that's fine. Or we've already got it figured out, but like, let's just stop waiting to figure it out.
So
And
true.
what's one habit that quietly drains life energy?
Oh, avoiding thinking about mortality.
Yeah.
And
So
what's
true.
one habit that reliably brings people back to themselves?
This is going to annoy you, but approaching thinking about mortality.
Yeah.
Be
Oh,
willing to go
wow.
there. The Grim Reaper has so many gifts for us. I mean, until he's here to kill us, but beforehand, all good stuff.
I agree. I agree.
Wow, unreal. This conversation is really such a reminder that, you know what, midlife isn't a closing chapter. It's just a time to like reawaken and realize that our days are limited. So make the most of it. I love it so much. And I love your descriptions and descriptors. And if all of you listening, if you found yourself nodding along, thinking something has to shift, trust that instinct, really. And oh my gosh, Jodi, thank you so much. I know you didn't bring the Grim Reaper, and that's okay. We got the we got the message. Thank you for sharing your incredible insight. Honestly, I learn something new every single time that we speak, and we really appreciate you so much, and we appreciate your time. And all the details about Jodi will be in the show notes. You can pick up her book, you can get on her website and learn all about more, dig really deep into what she's been doing. I mean, you're doing such a service to all of us.
Well,
Thank
I
you for
also
saying
want to thank you, Jodi. I think this was the most amazing episode. I'm so excited. And for those of you who want to know and read Jodi's book, it's You Only Die Once, and her work on 4,000 Mondays offer really powerful tools, and hopefully they'll connect with you and what makes life more meaningful. So amazing. Thank you.
You guys are amazing. Thank you for this chance to spend. This is time well spent, us talking, but also anybody listening right now, guys, we just spent a good amount of our time. This is quality time in our ticking time bomb of life.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Thank you all for joining Chatterbox Besties with Brenda and Ricky for our first 2026 episode. And if you found this episode helpful, please share this episode with someone you love. There's such good information here that we all really needed to hear. And of course, please take a moment to like and follow and rate our show on our podcast and our Instagram. And once again, Happy New Year. This is your time. We love you and see you all soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi there. This podcast is purely for entertainment purposes. We're your besties sharing our perspectives with you.